Hello there, I'm Anna Amelia from Northeast Animal Rights, and we're delighted to welcome along Allan Jackson, an animal rights activist, to our Saturday Spotlight interview today. So, welcome, Allan, and thanks very much for agreeing to do this for us.
Oh, hello. Thank you. It's yeah, great opportunity. It's taken a very long while actually to get around to this, but
It
we're
has,
finally there.
it has. We've been trying to get you for quite some time, but you've always been in the middle of some action or some arrest or something. And we know
Yeah.
obviously because very recently as well, you were taking part in the Google Hunt actions as well. So, do you want to just start off by telling us a little bit about that?
Yeah, okay. So last week or the weekend prior, well, it's a few weeks ago now.
Yeah.
Sorry. I was up on the roof of a building called Nature Scott. They are a company that issues a license for a thing called the Cougar Hunt, which basically enables 10 men from Ness on the Isle of Lewis to go to Sulaskar, which is a tiny little rock, which is a triple SI site, which has a colony of gannets, and gannets are protected from absolutely everybody, except for the 10 men of Ness who go there with lassos on poles and bludgeons, and they steal the babies from the nest just before they're about to fledge. So they're big birds, but they can't yet fly. And so they lasso them, drag them off, and club them to death in front of their parents and their family. And then they scorch them, salt them, and once upon a time they were used as food to get them through the winter. Now they just do it as a quote unquote tradition.
Yeah.
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 Um,
Yeah.
so
So
yeah, so we're doing everything we can basically to end that this year and stop them from getting their license.
yeah.
Um,
I know that a lot of the criticism you have been getting in the papers, like with you with Protect the Wild, it's always about the tradition part of it. Leave our tradition alone, but it needs
yeah,
to
well,
be back to history.
traditions. I mean, tradition's just a ridiculous excuse, isn't it?
Yeah, of course it is.
Um,
Of course it is. Yeah.
I mean, our argument with them was if it is tradition and it is tradition that you're keeping, then get in your little tiny handmade rowing boat and row 40 miles to that rock, do you know, and then spend your time there and then row 40 miles back like they used to once upon a time when it was absolutely necessary,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, it is very, very different now. But you've been involved in all sorts of different things. I mean, all sorts of animal rights and social justice activism as well. So could you give me a bit of a potted history of some of the things you've done recently, recent years as well? Because I've seen some
In
very,
recent,
very elaborate things you've done.
gosh, so I've kind of been all over the place really. I feel like one of those people for hire, do you know, like gun for hire. Um, I took part in recent years. I took part in the Grand National, um, storming of the Grand National. We did a dairy campaign that was quite effective. I've also been doing undercover investigations on farms. I have, gosh, what else have I done? I did a stunt for Palestine Action. Um, I genuinely, my brain's frozen now. I
You've done
can't.
so
Yeah, I'm
much. You've
sort
done so much. I
of.
mean,
Yeah,
ones
yeah.
that the ones that I
Oh, tying
remember.
myself, chaining myself to laboratories and redecorating and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah.
the ones that I remember, the ones that I kind of like have like bring to mind are where you've been handcuffed to Louise Ryan, and
Oh,
and kind of
absolutely.
spraying
There's nothing
paint
better.
on stuff, spraying paint on
That was on
MVO.
LabCorp and MVigo and
Yeah,
places. Yeah, yeah,
yeah, yeah. I mean,
yeah. Nothing better. I could go out with Louise every day. She's great.
she's absolutely amazing. But I mean, you're doing things which absolutely terrify me. I mean, I was part of the dairy stuff, the dairy campaign. I was down there in Gloucester doing that. But
Mm.
the rest part of it, I mean, you just kind of like seem to just brush it all off, like just literally just walk off a duck's back. So I don't know
Well, the,
how do you cope with it all?
um, probably years of practice. I mean, little known to people. I trained as a hypnotherapist, so I've been interested in psychology for a very long time. So I've spent many, many years
Mm.
training my mind to cope with stuff.
Yeah,
And a lot of it, I mean, so I consider a lot of it. I consider time off. For instance, when you're sat on top of a truck, or you're sat on like we were sat on top of Nature Scott.
yeah,
That's like, well, Nature Scott was 3 days of not having anything else to do.
yeah,
So not thinking, oh, I must be doing something else now. I should be. It's
yeah,
just like, well, I can't be
yeah,
because I'm here, you know.
mm,
And I feel the same with the police cell. After the action's over and you go to the police cell,
yeah,
some people find that difficult to cope with.
uh,
For me, I find it like a meditational period.
yeah.
Because there is nothing I could be doing.
Yeah.
So I don't have to feel any guilt or,
Yeah.
or fear or any, what I mean? It's just like I have this time in this box
Yeah.
and there's nothing else I can do. So I can just sit and enjoy it, really.
Yeah. And I
But,
suppose those sorts of actions as well. I mean, you're building up a lifelong relationship with the people who you're doing it with. Like we've mentioned Louise and but other people you've done it with, because it's like a so unique set of circumstances where you're drawn together for you've got this fundamental common ground. And no matter whether you don't, I mean, this is what I found when I did the stuff with Animal Horizon, all these people who I've met down there, we are lifelong friends because of the experience that we went through.
yeah, no, I agree entirely. I mean, it's a great way to make friends.
Right friends.
Yeah, but this is it because you have that common goal, you have that shared interest, and
Yeah.
yeah, sometimes I've been, when I've been chatting to people or for periods of time and stuff, you always get those questions. Oh, don't you argue? Don't you disagree? Don't you fall out? It's just like why would we? We have
Yeah.
um, and you could very clearly have differences of opinion on different political issues and different
Yeah.
things and stuff like that, but
Yeah.
actually the task at hand is what binds you.
Yeah.
And so that's where all your effort and your concentration goes. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I
I
think
recommend it to anybody. Get out and make friends.
I think the only argument we had was whether to put garlic in the food that we were cooking because I do garlic
Yeah.
and I was in charge of the
Oh,
food and I was like, no, that's not going in. That was literally the only argument we had. But yeah, it is really sort of it's amazing sort of like being around people who are prepared to put the liberty and the safety at stake as well for animals and to bring awareness in all sorts of sometimes crazy, sometimes bizarre ways, but unusual ways. But it is really important that people like you are prepared to do that, because I would be absolutely terrified. I mean, my activism is in very different ways, but it's amazing that people like you can do that.
but that's because I am a big shout out to all those people who work in the sciences behind the scenes and
Yeah,
do all the paperwork
yeah,
and work out the maths and do
logistics.
everything
Yeah,
else because those people are phenomenal and I can't
yeah,
do that. I
yeah,
mean, it's just yeah.
yeah.
Um,
I would rather
I
be
was just
behind the
saying.
scenes.
I rely on charisma and ideas. That's me. I haven't got anything else to offer.
But you mentioned just before you came online as well that you're a frustrated musician, and so you do quite a lot of stuff you try to do a lot of stuff with that. So you try to fit everything in, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. And music always, unfortunately, I mean, depending on your viewpoint, for me, music tends to take a back seat.
Yeah,
Music has always been there for me. In the real world, I still consider myself a musician.
uh,
But there's so much going on all of the time,
yeah,
and more so.
yeah,
And now I'm permanently involved in different campaigns and stuff. So I
yeah,
get very little time for music. What I try to do these days is every time I do a different action on a different subject, I try to write something to
uh,
go with that.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, I think the last thing I wrote was the This Ain't Science, which is
yeah,
a Doctor Kills a Lot and
yeah,
Vegan Queen V, which is all about anti-vivisection. But
yeah. So we're talking about vivisection now. That kind of like takes us nicely on to feet, which is finally ending animal testing. So can you tell me? I mean, obviously this is well underway now, but can you tell me, why it's important to you? Why is vivisection, well, anti-vivisection, so important to you? How the campaign was set up? Who's involved, and how ordinary members of the public can help, but also how activists can help as well.
um, yeah, so blimey. I'll probably get this in the wrong order because I don't remember exactly the order of the question.
It doesn't matter.
But so feet came about last year actually, and it's kind of like a bet.
Mm,
Well, basically, I was having these conversations, and a lot of people kept telling me that the grassroots movement was dead,
mm,
and I just refused to believe that. I've come from grassroots. I've been grassroots for 40 years, and I see a lot of action all of the time, a lot of grassroots activism all the time. Granted, in some respects it's difficult to get people out on the street. It's difficult to get people
mm,
to do things for various different reasons. But the grass movement's, it's still really, really solid. So just to prove that, vivisection's always been anti-vivisection has always been very, very close to my heart.
yeah,
It's kind of where I came into the movement all those years ago.
yeah,
I mean, I started with hunt sabbing, but then it was fur farms and vivisection and circuses,
mm,
and And so, yeah, and I consider the anti-vivisection movement very much a cornerstone of the animal rights movement. It's a great gateway
Yeah,
drug, as I like to say.
yeah,
You don't really have to have an understanding
yeah,
of animal rights or anything else, or
yeah,
be affiliated with the vegan movement, etc. But 99% of people hate vivisection. But most people have always considered it a necessary evil,
yeah,
and now it's no longer necessary. We're in a position, from a rights point of view, it never has been acceptable.
yeah,
From a scientific point of view, etc., etc., we're now at a point where other science has taken over.
yeah,
So we're in a really, really good position where we can push things now. So April is the World Day for Animals in Laboratories, or April the 24th.
yeah,
And and then there's quite a few people that do stuff around that
yeah,
week and have a full week.
yeah,
And I was just like, well, sod it, let's just do a whole month. You know, if we dedicate a whole month to vivisection, we try and get everybody everywhere all of the time doing stuff right the way across the country, that will get it back in the public domain, get it back in the public consciousness. Because you'd be amazed how many people think that we don't even do animal testing here. We stopped testing on fully developed cosmetics, and everybody just thinks, oh, well, that's it then. We've done. We don't do this anymore. So basically, yeah, so we have a month of campaigning. It starts on April the 1st, which is April Fool's Day. So we have animal testing is for fools.
yeah,
So we get banners up and everything else and placards up. And this year we've had posters done with like a smiling clown with a syringe,
yeah,
a sinister clown. And so that all happens on the 1st. And then April the 6th, which was Easter Monday, I did a thing in Bournemouth with Dr. Kills-a-Lot, which is my alter ego who mutilates cuddly toys in the street as a children's TV presenter.
mhm,
So I took on the Easter Bunny in Bournemouth. So while the Easter Bunny was hopping around being happy, I just kept coming over and mutilating them for a bit,
yeah,
which is great. Great bit of street theatre, gets people involved. We have days of the week stuff. So yeah, Monday we do things. Mondays is based around universities. Tuesdays we have feet talk. So we either have scientists or activists
mhm,
of an evening talking,
mhm,
getting people reinvigorated and re-inspired and giving them the knowledge that they need in order to do that.
mhm,
Wednesdays we have Boycott Barclays, which is part of the MBR campaign. Thursdays we have email everybody.
yeah,
So we have a massive list of email addresses that everybody can email everybody and say, hey, look, we've had enough of this, stop doing it.
yeah,
Gosh, Friday is community night, so that's all
yeah,
about getting all the activists together
yeah, yeah,
and making new stuff and sharing new ideas and trying to drag the public in as well.
yeah, mhm,
Saturdays is the British Heart Foundation and the Cancer Research UK out in the High Street,
yeah,
um, challenging the charities.
mhm,
We have a great competition, like an ad hoc competition. It's not competition because I don't really do that,
yeah,
but we're asking people to mutilate cuddly toys in animal experiment type things
mhm,
and get them into the windows of the charity shops and take photos.
mhm,
And as part of the campaign, I mean, you just get bonus points for that, and we all get to have a good giggle.
yeah,
So yeah, so that's Saturdays, and then on Sundays is door dropping, like we always used to do. Take a whole bunch of leaflets, go for a stroll on a Sunday afternoon, and
yeah,
pop them through people's doors.
yeah.
Um, have I missed anything? I can't
I don't.
remember.
I think you've gone through from Monday through to Sunday, so that's a whole lot. Unless you're doing anything through the night. I do quite a lot of talks for Animal Aid, and I've been doing a series of talks for on vivisection, for
Mm,
year nines, and we obviously mentioned quite a lot of things that you've spoken about there about the fact that charities use animals, and but also that the students are very surprised when I ask them to list the types of animals, the species of animals that they think are used, and they're very, very surprised to hear that up here in Newcastle there are monkeys, and that
yeah.
pigs are used in Leeds, and also they're used in like warfare experiments, and asking the students to figure out why that they're used, because of the similarities to us, and also then it's so. I think talking about grassroots, and you were saying that
Mm,
grassroots is people are saying it's dead. It isn't. It's going on all the time. We may not just I mean, any sort of like Saturday, Sunday, you can see around the UK there's loads of stuff going on.
So that was, yeah, you saying that actually, that was the bond point, the key point of feet that I missed
Yeah,
actually, is it was because of that people saying that grassroots was dead, and I know from personal experience
yeah,
there are always people out there, and they are always doing things, and unfortunately they don't get the notice
yeah,
that they deserve.
yeah,
So we felt that by using feet and creating this umbrella
yeah,
under this one logo, that everybody that is out there, when we know that people are out there all of the time, it helps to give them a boost as well
yeah,
and get more people aware of
mm,
where people are, because there are
yeah,
people in your locale that are doing it all of the time and you might not be aware. So our aim was basically to provide this umbrella and
yeah,
just uplift everybody so that
yeah,
everybody's aware
yeah.
and get more people involved, you know.
Yeah. And the resources you were selling out that providing us are really really good as well. It kind of like gives us a bit of and we kind of like learning from each other. I mean, we've got for WDIL Day.
Mm,
I'm going to Manchester that week to help with their march, and also we're doing two events in Newcastle and Saltburn to mark the actual WDIL. We were going to go down to Huntingdon, but it just all just got very very messy. So we just thought we'll just do our two events because we don't want people to forget that Newcastle University does stuff up here. So
absolutely.
we've got some beagle stuffed toys, but they're quite big, quite realistic ones. But we've managed to buy gas masks, and we're going to shave the heads, put numbers on them, and put the
Yep,
syringes, bend the paws up, and put the syringe and everything on there. Because I was explaining to students, this is why we use beagles because they're very docile and they're very
absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
forgiving, and we betray them. So I mean, I suppose the sad thing about vivisection is that people are naturally drawn to beagles because they're all lovely, lovely animals, and they're less interested in animals like rats and mice, fish. So, what would you say about that? Because obviously they are used in the millions. So,
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. So there's two things here. It's in, again, I talk about gateway drugs, you
yeah,
know, and beagles and primates
yeah,
are obvious gateway drugs. They're brilliant
yeah,
because people relate to them so well,
yeah,
and
yeah,
they know them,
yeah,
whereas most people don't know mice or rats or zebrafish or
yeah,
or rabbits or the others,
yeah,
Um, but it's very, very important that although we hold those up as
mm,
our example as our gateway drug, that we
yeah,
continually remind people that they're not the only ones,
mm,
and it's important not to take
yeah,
beagles out of the equation on their own because they'll only
mm,
replace them with mini pigs or somebody
yeah,
else,
yeah,
so although we can use the beagles as a driving thing to get people
yeah,
involved in it,
yeah,
then we need to translate those moral values to all of the other animals. The
yeah,
other thing I would say is it's very, very important to remember that vast amounts of animals, particularly rodents, uh, don't ever are never experimented on. They're just brought into existence. They spend, 3 to 6 months living in a drawer,
yeah,
essentially, with doing nothing at all. And even primates can spend, years just in a cage doing nothing.
yeah,
Which in itself is torturous, which
yeah,
in itself is a hideous crime without the actual
yeah,
torture of
mm, yeah,
invasive testing and stuff.
yeah,
So I think that's something else that people need to consider is just all of those quote unquote surplus animals.
yeah,
Um,
yeah.
yeah,
Well, we
yeah, yeah.
did.
Just
In the animal aid stuff, I talked to them about an FOI I did with Newcastle, where I asked them how many animals out of all the procedures that they do, how many animals get rehomed. So in 2024 they did 18,000 experiments, which admittedly is down on previous years, but still
mm,
18,000 is a hell of a lot. Um,
eighteen
and they,
thousand too many.
yeah, and they rehomed three animals. So
Yeah,
I asked the students to work out what happened to the other ones, and they all worked out that the animals were either killed at the end or they died during the procedure. So there's just animals, just it's absolutely it's a horrendous.
it
Um,
is. It's a just a horrendous crime.
yeah,
And also you got to bear in mind that it's never been I can't think what the word is now. It's never been justified. It's never been
yeah,
shown, proven to be a scientific of any scientific value.
yeah,
And and we still talk about the fact that animal testing
yeah,
or is the gold standard. It's got to
yeah,
90, over
yeah,
90% failure rate.
yeah,
If
yeah,
that's the gold standard,
yeah,
do you
I
know
know,
what on earth are we
yeah,
doing?
yeah,
If that was any other
yeah,
business model,
yeah,
you know,
Yeah.
If you had a 90% failure rate in any other business,
Yeah,
they'd just go, stop doing
yeah,
that,
yeah,
find something else.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And I think this, I mean, the LD50 was brought in what, 1927, so it's 100 years old.
Yeah.
Um, but I know that you talk about the success rate. I mean, you're dead right. I mean, you wouldn't be continuing with something, particularly when there's proven alternatives now. I mean, we know that animal-free research is doing loads of stuff. We know that Animal Aid with Accelerate are doing loads of stuff. We know there's alternatives. It's just crazy that we're relying on stuff which has been going on for 100 years and
Yeah, I mean,
all the technology available and we don't use it.
a good number is 90.
Yeah,
And as a rough average,
yeah,
90% of animal testing fails.
yeah.
And as a rough average, 90% of non-animal method alternatives are
Yeah,
successful.
yeah,
So it's,
yeah,
and it's just like, so what are we playing at?
yeah,
What is anybody playing at? Just with reference to World Day,
yeah.
um, World Day being the 24th. I'm just going to cough, sorry. Excuse me. Yeah, World Day being the 24th. On the 24th of April, we will have as many people as we can out in the street doing street theatre.
Yeah.
Last year, I had the wonderful pleasure of working with a friend of mine, doing loads and loads of experiments on my wife
Yeah, yeah,
in
yeah.
the streets, in the
So,
streets in sorry, in the streets in Swindon,
yeah,
and fantastic bit of street theatre. We did loads of experiments on her. We shaved her hair. We put an
yeah,
implant in her
so,
head.
yeah, yeah,
Um, And eventually we killed her and we put her in a bin bag and then we threw her
yeah.
in the bin. And outstanding piece of outreach. It's
Very, very
really, really
effective.
good.
Very effective.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, it
it.
was. Yeah,
And creates lots and lots of conversation. So we're encouraging everybody on World Day, which is
yeah,
Friday this year,
yeah,
to do the same thing,
yeah,
to get themselves out in the street,
yeah,
find somebody who's willing to be experimented on,
yeah,
and just do that in the street
yeah,
because it just works so
yeah.
well.
Yeah, to
Yeah.
get the
So
conversations. I mean, people are absolutely horrified when they see. I think people are going to be horrified when they see us bringing the dogs out because obviously they're going to be looking at the dogs from a distance, seeing that they're cute little, and then they're going to get a little bit closer, see they've got numbers on the head, which is going to start a conversation. They're going to see the masks on them. They're going to put that little the tube into a bottle marked poison. So
yes.
it's
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's I mean these ones are quite visual. I mean, they do lend themselves to visual activism actions, I suppose, because they are so easy to replicate and to kind of like draw the horror in from what's actually
And
happened. I mean, these are just stuffed toys. We are doing them on, but
this is, I mean, this is exactly the thing with Dr. Killsalot, my alter ego.
yeah,
Um, I talk like a nice children's TV presenter. Hello, everybody. Guess what we're going to do today? We're going to mutilate some animals, and um, and then I do lots of bizarre stuff with cuddly toys. And I've had people saying to me, "What on earth are you doing? You
yeah,
know, mutilating those cuddly toys. What on earth are you
yeah.
doing?" And I'm just like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa! These are just
Just
toys."
toys.
You
This is
know.
actually what happened on New Animals. I know exactly. Yeah, I know. Yeah,
And but it's that juxtaposition because it's so nice and so friendly, and you've got cuddly toys.
yeah,
It's all cuddly and nice and warm, but
mm,
actually what you're doing is just completely horrific and mental,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
It is.
And excuse me. And as a result, it's yeah, terribly effective.
Yeah. So could you tell us, as a an all-rounded sort of activist, you do absolutely so many things, right? So how can we and how important is it for us, um, people who haven't done activism before? So why is it important for them to not be bystanders, but why is it important for them to take part in the things that we all do care about?
Well, there's the very old adage, and it's I mean the reason it's a cliched old adage is the reason cliches are cliches is because they work.
Yeah,
Silence is complicity.
yeah,
It's not enough.
yeah,
It's not enough to just stop taking part because if you I mean stopping taking part is it's a great first step. But unless you're informing others of the things that are happening that you have removed yourself from and encourage others to remove themselves as well, you're just allowing the system to perpetuate.
yeah,
And it's also important to be aware that activism takes all forms. I know
yeah,
I have a kind of, a notoriety, if you like, because I've done some outlandish things.
yeah,
but I do those because I can. I mean, I'm in a fortunate position where I can just do those things,
Yeah,
and that's great. But as I said to you earlier, those people in the background that are working all of the time tirelessly,
yeah,
the door dropping, putting stickers up, having conversations,
yeah,
just do something.
yeah,
We have a lot of online stuff throughout this month for
mm,
those people that don't feel comfortable getting out there. But we do encourage all of them
yeah,
to just get out there, even if you just go to even if you go to a vegan stall
mm,
and stand behind that and
yeah,
offer information to people.
yeah,
Just do that. Yeah,
yeah,
even go out, find a group of people that are out,
mm,
stand in the background,
yeah,
watch them
yeah,
doing their thing
yeah,
until you feel comfortable. Because the more you get out and the more you do stuff, the
yeah,
more you actually think, no, I want to do more, you
yeah,
know. And it's also, I think activism is a very good way of meeting other people and sharing thoughts and ideas.
mm,
A very good friend of mine, I mean, I've completely stolen it now. But what we need is everything everywhere all of the time. He used to say
yeah,
that too.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
He
yeah,
and it's so true.
mhm,
And so every form of activism, regardless of what it is, whatever it is that you're doing,
mm,
it counts.
yeah,
But you do need to be active, sitting back and
yeah,
just eating plant-based food or and
yeah,
changing your shoes or whatever. It's not
yeah,
enough.
yeah. I do agree with you. I mean, I think that the updated version of the vegan definition, which Ronnie and Tony had changed. I think that the obligation to be proactive for animals, to do something, to be active, that's really important because it's not. I always say veganism is not about not doing something; it's about doing something. So it's not about not using animals; it's about not using animals and then doing something to make sure other people don't as well.
This is it. I think and I think it's the duty of us
Yeah,
is to make sure that every conversation you have um, ends with a call to action.
yeah. Mm.
It's always important to say, and so what are you
What are you
going
going
to
to
do?
do? Yeah, yeah, I
You
agree.
know,
Yeah,
um,
yeah,
because doing nothing isn't, I mean, doing nothing in a lot of ways is a lot of good,
yeah,
but it isn't enough. We're a small movement. We
yeah,
need to expand as much as we possibly can. Get this expanded moral consciousness going
yeah.
as rapidly as we can. And at the same time, millions of lives are at stake. Billions, trillions of lives are at stake all of the time. So
I suppose the only way doing nothing is okay is when you're sitting on top of nature, Scott, or you're sitting on top of a silo. That's the only time you can do nothing. Okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's like if there's a war going on and you do not go, that's
Yeah.
doing nothing, and that's
Yeah.
a good thing.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
you also need to, when you're not at the war, you need to be standing up in the street and
Yeah.
telling other people not to go to war and why
Yeah.
we should stop it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're coming to the end of our time together. I mean, it's absolutely
Mm.
flown. So could you tell me what's? I mean, obviously, feet will be coming to an end shortly. So what's happened for you next?
Lots of court, probably.
Lots of court appearances.
So what's happening for me next? So I've just been going through court in Spain over bullfighting.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I remember. So
Uh,
yeah, that was an amazing one. Yeah, I saw that.
so yeah, that's kind of ongoing. Hopefully we'll get a result on that soon,
Yeah,
which is good.
yeah.
Um, it's so very hard to say. So
There's
okay, I do
loads.
know now. I've remembered what I'm doing. I've got so I'm still working on the Google Hunt. That'll be happening
Yeah,
right through till August.
yeah,
And we are hoping that we can get the license revoked before August, because
yeah,
if we don't, we're going to have to go to this tiny little rock in the middle of the sea and stop it happening there, which
yeah,
is not something I'm looking forward to. But
yeah, yeah, yeah,
but we'll be there.
yeah,
Um, and the other thing that I'm working on is the greyhounds.
yeah,
Is shutting down the greyhound tracks.
yeah.
So we have the Greyhound Derby coming up in June.
Mm,
So there's a lot to do there. I mean, that's their major event. So we need to make as much of a scene as we possibly can to reduce their revenue, to, make
yeah,
people aware. I'm busy. At the moment, I'm busy with feet, but in the background, I'm doing what I can to undermine the licensing of the track in Toaster,
mm,
which is it's a little bit difficult. It's a difficult one with Toaster because it's not. it's not in a major city or in anywhere. It's kind of on the edge of a small town. It's in a parkland, so you can't persuade them to sell it for housing because they can't. So yeah, so it's a little bit of a difficult one, but I'm assuming that's probably why they gave it to me.
Is it like a challenge?
Yeah. Um, and whatever else comes along, really.
Yeah.
I so Feet has been an annual event. So we have it's been the month of action, which is April, and this time when April finishes, Feet won't. Our aim is to make Feet an umbrella organisation that will spend all of its time trying to big up the grassroots and make them more visible, and we will honour various public events or public days. We will do something special as part of the Feet thing, but we will always maintain that April will be our month-long campaign. So from this year, once April has done, we will be doing everything we can to make sure that April next year will be truly international, because we do have a few people that are in different countries that are taking part in Feet events, and but Feet has been a UK focus, but we've had a lot of interest from lots of different places.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to encourage that and make it a bigger thing.
Mm. Right. Well, I'm absolutely worn out listening to all of the things that you do, what you have done, and you're going to do. So they might have a bit of a lie down now. So I'm going to
Yeah, well,
go on. Sorry.
I was just going to say on that note, actually, the first thing I'm going to do after April is I've got a week in the Isle of Wight with my wife.
And just catch up.
So that'll be and some friends just having a chill for a week. But even that's a bit of a busman's holiday, because we're going there on the 30th of April. So 30th of April, which is the end of the Feet campaign. So we'll be doing lots of banner and placards and demos on the Isle of Wight, just so that we feel welcome when we get there.
Good. Why not? But we're going to end now. So thank you very much, Alan, for giving up your very, very precious time, and more power to you. I mean, you're absolutely amazing. And we really, really need people like you, and we really appreciate what you do as well. So I'm going to sign off and say thank you very much for listening to us today, and for Alan for giving up his time.
Thank you very much for having me.
You're very welcome.